Good morning, everyone. Everybody doing okay? Waking up? Got the breakfast here? Good. Well, my name is Eric Hoehn. I work in federal programs. I'm a Region 7 specialist, and I'm also the CSPR coordinator for Alabama. Glad to be here. For today's session, I'm going to be joined by Beth Fuller from Shelby County Schools. She is one of my Region 7 folks that I am in close contact with, and I just want to give a shout out to Beth. She's very good at what she does, and the whole region that I serve, they're all excellent folks, so very fortunate to have Region 7. So for our discussion today, if we can get the slides going here, I just wanted to give a general overview of how to certify in the AIM portal. There are several tiles that need attention at the end of the school year, and Beth is going to be kind and tap me on the shoulder here and chime in with her LEA perspective as well. So hopefully you'll find what we have to say this morning valuable to you, especially when it comes to end of year. There's lots of things to do at end of year closeout, so hopefully these little tips and tricks will kind of make it a little smoother process for you. So the topics for today here, just a general data flow from PowerSchool to the AIM tiles. Then we're going to review a little background of each of the 5 tiles that you're going to be required to certify for this round of data collection. We've got the school-wide targeted assistance, SWTA. We've got the English learners tile. We also have homeless data. We have some minor updates to the neglected or delinquent tile, and then we are debuting the foster care tile this year as well. We'll also end with the certification window when all of these tiles will be opening and closing for you to do your final certifications there. And then we'll end with some technical assistance. And then Beth is actually going to help me by logging into the AIM portal and kind of walking through some of the tiles and any little hiccups that she's seen in her experiences she wanted to share with you guys so you guys don't run into the same issues. Okay. All right, so starting off here, the data flow from PowerSchool to the AIM tiles. Just know that, if you are making any changes in PowerSchool, there is going to be a time delay. So when updating PowerSchool, just allow 24, 48 hours for the changes to take effect in AIM. So I know y'all get working and you want it to be instantaneous, but if you don't see that marry over, just give a little time. You're always welcome to reach out to us for assistance as well, and we can kind of guide you through that process. But the way the data flows, once you guys have your PowerSchool data up to date, it populates the student data tile in AIM, and then from that student data tile, it feeds into the 5 tiles that you're required to certify for this collection, as you can see there. So to review the first tile, we've got the school-wide targeted assistance tile. You may think it'll say data collection, you may think it'll say certification. It actually says survey for this one, so just be aware that right next to the app home, I have it circled in red there. That is the place you want to click to certify your data for school-wide targeted assistance. Now, a couple tips here. I spoke with each of the folks at the state level that certify each of these tiles, and I reached out to them and asked for some best practices, tips and tricks, so this is what this presentation is compiled of. To certify these fields, most of them are going to be auto-populated. When you see the auto-populated values, you want to compare the data within each of the individual tiles to the student data tile, federal programs tab, and then the appropriate matching tile. So in this case, students SWTA. And this is going to ensure that the numbers are going to match prior to your certifying at the end of the year. If you see that something's off, make sure that you reach out to us. We can help facilitate a service desk ticket to help it get corrected. Couple reminders, if you have a targeted assistance population, those are going to be manually marked in PowerSchool. Stacy Royster did a wonderful job yesterday explaining the PowerSchool side of things, and once that process is done, it gets married over to the AIM tiles here. And also note that for the private school, the neglected programs, you're going to manually enter your data on those private school and neglected program sections as well. So just be mindful of the manual entry portions, because even though a lot of stuff will get pulled from PowerSchool, there are some things that you will have to manually enter there.
Go back to the previous.
Yeah. And let me go back here. And Beth?
Okay, so I joke that my job here is to add color commentary. So one of the things that Eric mentioned is when you look at this screen, you don't see the word certified. I would encourage you to take a picture of this slide and put that in your CSPR file, because we only do this one time a year, and I know that there have been times in the past when I've come to this page and I've been like, certify, it doesn't, where do I go to certify? How do I get to that? It doesn't say certify anywhere on this page. So make a note, circle it, put it in red, that you know that you're gonna go to the survey link, because, like I said, once a year, you forget. So that's a tip I do. I just take this page and I put it in my CSPR file. So when I do this, I know that's exactly where I've got to go.
Excellent. Thank you, Beth. All right, so just a little general walkthrough of how to check your data. You can see here that on the top portion of the screen, I've pulled a screenshot from the SWTA tile, and off to the right here, I pulled from the student data tile. And you're pretty much looking for a one-to-one mapping of these values. So we can see, for example, the number of children with disabilities is 866. You're just gonna match that to, again, you're gonna go to student data tile, federal programs, and then the students' SWTA. So you'll see that each of the tiles has a separate category within student data, which is pulled from. Now, for example, here, you are going to see a difference in values between the student data tile and the SWTA tile. Now, for example, we've got the Asian count here is 37 on the student data tile, but yet when you go to check the SWTA tile, you see a value of 33. That's okay, and the reason for that is because the way that the federal government collects the unduplicated number of students, the state reports duplicated counts. So as long as the student data tile has at least the same or more, you should be okay. At the end of the day, what you're going to be checking, the values that will match is going to be the overall total, and then also the Hispanic Latino count as well. Those numbers are going to match one-to-one, but if you see that the values are not matching for the other categories, don't worry about that, as long as the student data tile is at least the same or more. And then another little note about the manual entry portion. These definitions I pulled right from the federal guidance. In regard to private school students participating, it's defined as private school students who were selected for Title I Part A services and also provided Title I Part A services by a local educational agency or LEA. And then for local neglected program, that's defined as the locally operated institutions for neglected children who are provided Title I Part A services. And this is from the neglected or delinquent set-aside 1A set-aside exclusively. And did you want to say something about the set-aside part? Okay. All right. So moving on to the next tile, this is the English learner tile. For this one, just some general reminders. For this one, it doesn't say survey, doesn't say certify. This one says data collection. So just be mindful of the different features you have to click to access the portions that you need to certify. Now, in general, you are spot checking this against what's in the student data federal programs tab. In this case, it's students for EL. And then in general, if you have any questions or concerns, you are welcome to place a service desk ticket. Their email is right there, servicedesk@alsde.edu. Now, one thing in talking with the specialist that works with EL and is the one to certify this specific tile, a couple reminders she wanted me to share are the fact that you need to make sure that you complete all sections. There are several manual entry components to this, mainly pertaining to training. So just note that the ALSDE will not certify any incomplete entries. So please make sure that that is completely filled in. I've got the 4 different tabs highlighted at the top there. And just pay extra special attention to those manual entry components. And just a general best practice, you may want to maintain personal records of professional development, counts, topics, etc. throughout the school year. Hopefully that's something that's happening. If not, that would be a good best practice for next year. All right, so for the homeless tile here, Very similar in fashion. I've highlighted a couple values here. It may be a little hard to see, so if you have the slide deck available, you can open that up and see. But you're going to see a slight difference in values here between the homeless tile and what you see in the student data tile federal programs homeless section. And the reason for that, when you go to compare in the student data tile, I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit, the difference in values is because the homeless portion of the student data tile, it includes the withdrawn and the dropout student counts, whereas in the homeless tile itself, it does not. So again, don't worry if you don't see that one-to-one match. The reasoning for that difference is because of the fact that the withdrawn and dropout count is included in the student data portion, while the homeless portion does not. But one thing you can do, instead of looking at the very top of the homeless tile, if you scroll to the very bottom of the student data app screen and you review the summary numbers at the student level grid, you're going to find that they will match what you see in the homeless portal there. Okay. Moving on to the neglected or delinquent portion, very similar in style to the other tiles. The certification status you'll see in a separate window that I've highlighted in red here. And once the window opens, you'll see the available window. You'll see, if you've already certified, it'll verify that you've certified. And then also it'll give you the status of the state level certification as well. So later in the presentation, we'll talk about when that certification window is open. But especially for neglected or delinquents, the way this tile runs is you have to make sure you select all the applicable facility types. And once you click on the facility types, it will generate a separate survey for you to complete. And then you will just go through and complete each survey. So for example, we've selected a few options here: community day programs, group homes, juvenile detention centers. You'll see that the 3 different surveys have populated. So you would click on the survey option on the right, and then you'll see a very similar screen to the right side of this slide. That's the survey questions to complete. So each survey is specific to the applicable facility, but all surveys, they have a similar outline of about 14-ish questions to complete. And again, make sure to populate all the fields when completing the surveys. There are some business rules in place that will kind of guide you. So if you put it in incorrect value, or if you leave something blank, something should trigger, but just be mindful of what you're entering. All right, so for this new foster care tile, there's no real manual entry for this portion. The best thing you need to do here is just to verify that the data is accurate and compare it with the student data tile and make sure it's matching your values in PowerSchool. One thing I just wanted to bring up is that you have the option to choose the fields that you want to see. So in the top portion there, it'll either say choose fields or hide fields. And I kind of highlighted some of the ones that are hidden currently. But if you're doing any type of specific reporting that you need only certain fields, just know that you have that option. Okay. Now, since this is a new tile, one thing that needs to happen is that the roles are correctly assigned. So each LEA should have a point of contact that maintains roles in the education directory. So I just wanted to make sure that the ones that need access to the foster care tile have those roles assigned. They need the ability to certify all system data, they need the ability to view the school level data, and they need the ability to view all system level data. If that process is not done correctly, you're going to see that there will be a no access banner that pops up, and if you don't know who that point of contact is, you can reach out to your region specialist and we can kind of facilitate that conversation. But that's honestly something that happens at the LEA level. So if you don't know who your point of contact is for education directory, now would be a perfect time to figure that out before the certification window opens. Now, let's see here. Now, this is the main slide for me, the certification window. Now, per Stacy Royster yesterday, she mentioned that their window of time is going to be from Tuesday, June 11th through Tuesday, June 18th. So for the state side, for us and the AIM tiles, we're going to be opening the window Tuesday, May 28th. So this will be the Tuesday right after Memorial Day weekend. And then you'll have 2 full weeks, and the window will close on Tuesday, June 11th. The reasoning behind this window being open at this time, if you have been certifying or maintaining your data all year, this is the final closeout, right? So if you are going through the process and looking at all of the state level data in the AIM tile and you see something wrong, you still have time to correct it because the PowerSchool window is still open. When that window closes for PowerSchool on the 18th, that data is locked in. So I'm trying to make it my best effort to we have as much accurate data as possible. So me opening the window prior to the PowerSchool window, hopefully that will kind of work in your favor to help you identify if there are any issues and also allow you time to correct those issues, make your updates in PowerSchool, wait for it to roll over in the AIM tiles, and then you can certify both successfully. So these are the contact information for each of the specialists here at the state that maintain and certify each of the tiles. This is something, if you want to take a picture of this or open up the slides later, these are the folks that will guide you and assist you in making sure this is a successful process. If you have any general technical assistance questions, you can reach out to me. If you need help, setting up a service desk ticket, I can help facilitate that. If you need more program-specific answers, you might want to reach out to those specialists, but again, feel free to reach out anytime. I can help facilitate whatever y'all need as far as assistance. So at this time, I wanted to switch over to the machine that's up here at the podium, and we're going to have Beth Fuller just share a couple extra tips and tricks just to make your certification process a lot smoother. So Beth, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So the first thing that I would say, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but is don't wait until May to start checking your data. I keep a separate homeless roster, and I audit it once a month against AIM. So I open AIM, I open my homeless roster, and I compare every kid. I want to make sure every school that the number that I show at that school matches what's in AIM. And the benefit, there's several benefits of that actually. One of the first things is if a child moves into your district that was identified in any other state as homeless, they're going to show up in your system as homeless, but you may not be aware of that. The school registrar may not be aware of that. So by checking your roster monthly against AIM, you'll find those kids, and you can bring them to the attention of the registrar, the principal, the counselor, et cetera, so they're aware, and we can make sure that we're serving those kids. On the other side, sometimes I will approve a child for McKinney-Vento eligibility. I know, the counselor knows, but maybe they forget to tell the registrar. Well, that data then doesn't go into AIM. Now that can have some consequences because if they haven't been identified as homeless in PowerSchool, then they may not be getting services that they should be getting, like free and reduced lunch. So we want to make sure that our data's right on both sides. So keeping an independent roster will help you do that. And I do audit mine once a month. I have about 380 homeless kids. So I want to make sure that I'm monitoring those. But if you did it at least every other month, that would probably be sufficient. I do the same thing with my foster care. I keep a separate foster care roster. I just keep a data table, and I compare that to what's in PowerSchool because I want to make sure that those data values match. So I'm not waiting till the end to find that out. And then you're panicking because if you wait till the end, people are on vacation, some people leave as soon as school's out, and it gets really complicated to try to fix your data. Okay, so the other thing that I would tell you is don't be afraid of this AIM portal. I think when I first started, I was very intimidated by this. I was afraid that I would click on something and I would mess something up, or that I would get in a portal and I might do something I wasn't supposed to. Well, you can't. First of all, until these portals are open for certification, you can't really change anything here. Anything that's going to be changed here is going to be done through PowerSchool at the local school level. So you're not going to mess anything up here. The second thing you might notice is that mine are color-coded, and this is really easy to do. All you have to do if you want to color-code yours is click on the little wheel, and you'll notice it says tile settings. And my color codes, the ones that are in green are the ones that I use regularly. The ones that are in yellow are the ones that I use some of the time. The ones that are in purple are the ones that I do have access to, but I don't use very often. And then you'll notice a little further down are all the ones that I don't have access to. You can also move these tiles around. So if you just click on it, you get the little cross mark, and you can move these on the page so you can put the one that you want to see the most, the one that you use most often, at the very top of your page. And that makes it a lot easier just to get to what you want to need without looking through this whole page. One that I do use fairly often, when I first started in my role as federal program supervisor, I didn't really know, looking into the next year, which of our schools were going to be identified as schools that we'd serve for Title I-A. Well, then I found out this year, actually. Well, that should never be a surprise. I should already know this year. Last year, I was kind of surprised. I was blindsided. I had a school that showed up. They were more than 75% poverty, so we had to serve them as Title I-A, but I didn't realize that until the spring. But if you go into your socioeconomic indicator, you can tell right now where your schools are and rank and serve. So if you click on the socioeconomic indicator, click 23-24, you'll notice that I've got Shelby County Schools. I'm going to click Fall 20th Day. It'll take it a little while. Okay, now once this comes up, you'll be like, okay, that's great. I see my overall data that for our district, we're at 42% poverty overall, but where's the rest of it? How do I see what schools? Well, if you'll see this little bitty plus mark, if you click on that, and it'll take it a little while. And then you'll have all of the poverty data for all of your schools, and there they are. So you can tell right now, you can be checking this, you can see if you're going to have any schools that are going to show up that you're going to need to serve next year. And of course, really, I mean, if y'all are like us for grants, there's all kinds of things throughout the year that you need to know the poverty levels of each of your individual schools. So I actually use that one a lot. Another thing that I do, I'm going to open my homeless tile. I'll try not to show any student data here. But another thing that, just to make this easier, when I am checking this data, let's go right here. Did you realize that if you click on the name, if you want to sort this, that you can click here and you can sort any of these by first name, by last name. This will put it in alphabetical order, which again makes it a little easier to check. These will organize your names, which if you're comparing this against a roster or if you're just looking for an individual child, that makes it a little bit easier to find. And of course, you can sort these by school. Right now it's sorted by the entire district, but you can also sort by school, and you'll see there's all of our schools. And that's basically some of the tips and tricks that I've learned. You probably have learned some of your own shortcuts over time. I would make a file. I would put some of these notes in a file. So next year, I try to leave breadcrumbs. I actually write it on the file so I can't lose it. But give yourself some breadcrumbs to follow, because when you only do it one time a year, the certification that is, it gets a little confusing sometimes. Get a network. I would encourage you to use your AFIPA network, those Region 7 people. That's who I call when I have problems. I call them first, then I call Eric next. So by the time I get to him, usually I've already asked a couple of people. Oh, one other thing I want to show you. If you have questions about any of these data tiles, you notice you've got the little question mark, and it'll immediately pop up names, emails, phone numbers for some people that you can contact. It even tells you who you can reach at your district to get those EdDur certifications. So if you don't have permissions, this will tell you where to go in your district to find those permissions.
Can I add a little something to that too? Okay. Yeah, additionally, if you look in that same question mark area, and this is something that the state level is in the process of updating as well. If you go to the View Help, you will see that the user guide will pop up for the tile specifically. So it gives you step-by-step, tips and tricks as well. So this would be a good first place to look, but then if you don't have any luck and you still have questions, then you can go ahead and reach out. I know for some of these, they are in the works of updating, and that's a conversation that we need to have. But just know that that is a tool that's available for you. And one thing additionally regarding the certification windows, I know in the past, each of the tiles had different dates, and that gets kind of confusing. So this year, to kind of streamline that, I wanted to make sure that all of the windows opened at the same time and they all closed at the same time. So that way you're not wondering, okay, which tile did I do and which one is due which date? So hopefully that will be a progressive step as well to help you and make things smoother for you. Now, I do see that we do have a few minutes left. With Dr. Killingsworth's permission, I was going to ask the audience out here if you'd be willing to share any tips or tricks if you've, gone through the certification process before. Is that, is there something else that may be beneficial for the group, or anyone willing to share their experiences with the tiles? Don't all jump at once. I know y'all just ate. I mean, come on now.
You had mentioned, like with the EL data compilation information, about the organization of your PD, since there is a tile that relates to the sessions that you've offered. One of the things, I always had my information, but it was because I had filed it by activity, but a colleague was helping me with that one year when, it's May and we're going back through every file and counting these things up. And she's like, Leah, just make a spreadsheet so that as we go through the year, we write down the name of the activity and we identify who's participated and we have all those counts. And it has made my life totally different in entering this, because yes, I had the data before, but I didn't have it in an organized manner where I could just easily, it saved me a bunch of time just having that written down or maintained somewhere else based on what is collected every year.
Good. Thank you for sharing. I know it's very easy for this to maybe be an afterthought for some folks, but if you establish those good practices at the beginning of the year and you maintain and you just kind of set it and forget it kind of throughout the year, you just make it habit to check, frequently throughout the year, it makes the end of year worlds easier. So I would hate for y'all to do the mad scramble at the end because y'all are busy enough, right? So I see another question in the back here. Yep.
So I know we say this every year, but in regards to the ELPD activities, are there any working toward, any efforts being made where that will come from Power School at some point?
Well, I can't really speak too much about Power School, but I know, Becky Wilson, you actually have the mic and you're our EL specialist. You got any comments you want to add about that? Or?
Thank you for putting me on the spot. I'm just going to say that we're in discussions for trying to streamline that. I can't say that, yes, there's something happening because it's going to take a lot more than just, hey, can we do this? So
yeah, and
that's all I can say about
Thank
it.
you, Becky. Yeah, and Becky does a fantastic job. She's identified a lot of things that could help the process along, and it does take time to enact those changes and whatnot, but just know that, we're always actively looking at how to improve and streamline things. So if there's ever any suggestions, don't be shy about reaching out. You can either reach out to me or your region specialist. We want to make sure that we're doing right, for you to make your jobs easier. So if there's anything we can do to kind of help facilitate that process, we're glad to help. So any other comments or questions want to add? Yeah, I believe that all the slide decks that we have presented to you yesterday and today, they will be made public. I think they are currently on the WICS website for this conference, so you're welcome to pull those so you can access the links and see my blurry screenshots. Is that that? Oh, yeah, so, let me help you direct where to go. On the website, if you go to File Share, it should be one of the tabs at the top. That's where all of our documentation is for the conference. And if you need assistance with that, I'm going to be over there by the PowerPoint, so you can come let me know and I can help you.
Eric, the tips and tricks that she shared, is there some way we can capture that within the files as well?
Kind of collect all the tips and tricks and
Yes.
Yeah, we can do that. I can maybe come up with like a one-pager and yeah, I think that would be beneficial for everybody, so I'll be willing to do that. Yes, ma'am. Oh, we see I have a question in the back here. Can we get a microphone, or if you don't mind?
To not have everything at a different time. We
Yeah.
tried to give you a hand over here for that.
Sure. Yeah. And I know I started January of '23, so I'm relatively new to this myself, but I'm trying to always be open and just be willing to keep learning. So I appreciate your grace and your kindness with especially my Region 7 folks. So, but again, any questions you have, we're here to help you. So just make sure you reach out and communicate your concerns, and we're going to try and do our best to help make your jobs a little easier. So, all right. I think that's it for me. So thank you all very much for your time. Appreciate you. Thank you to Beth Fuller for joining me on stage and keeping me on track here. So thanks.